there are moments in life when silence screams louder than thunder. Moments when the weight in your chest isn't from what's happening, but from what you're afraid might happen. I know that place. So do you. We all do. But today we end that war. Today we talk about how to destroy fear forever. Fear is not an enemy that hides in the shadows. Fear is the shadow. It is the echo of a future that doesn't exist. It is the voice that speaks of failure before you've even tried. It is the weight that keeps your feet planted when your soul is begging to move. And the worst part? Most people live their entire lives ruled by it. But fear is a liar. Let me tell you a story. There was once a soldier, not in war but in life. He wasn't born with strength. He wasn't born with confidence. He was born with a stutter, a shaking hand, and a heart that raced in every room full of people. As a boy, he ran from fights. As a teenager, he avoided eye contact. But one day something changed. His father passed unexpectedly. No warning, no time to say goodbye. At the funeral, he looked at the grave and whispered, "You never saw me become a man." That day, he made a promise. No more fear. Not because he suddenly became brave, but because he realized fear wastes the only thing we never get back: time. So, he did something radical. He made fear his compass. Whatever scared him, he ran toward it. Public speaking, he took the mic. Heights, he jumped out of planes. Confrontation, he sought truth. He failed, he stumbled, he fell hard, but every time the fear got quieter, until one day it was gone. And that man, he didn't become famous, he didn't write a book, he didn't need to, because he became free. Fear is the shadow of a fictional future. Fear is not something that lives in the present moment. It's a projection, a whisper from a future that has not yet come to pass. It's the story our mind tells us in the dark, when uncertainty creeps in, when we don't know what comes next, when we're confronted with change. Fear is not the enemy standing in front of us. It is the shadow we cast when we imagine what might happen. And because it isn't rooted in what is, it has no real substance. It thrives only in our imagination. That is its power, and that is its weakness. Think of the last time fear gripped you. Not just nerves, but the kind of fear that makes your chest tight and your thoughts spiral. Most of the time, that fear wasn't about something happening now, but about what could go wrong in the next few minutes, days, or months. The meeting you might fail in, the person who might walk away, the opportunity you might mess up. These fears are not based on fact. They're based on assumption, and assumption, no matter how convincing, is still fiction. The mind, in its attempt to protect you, creates 1,000 false endings. It plays every worst-case scenario like a film on loop. And ironically, that protection becomes a prison. We end up reacting not to reality but to possibility. We say no to the opportunity because we imagine embarrassment. We avoid the conversation because we predict rejection. We don't even try because we've already failed in our mind. This is how fear steals our life. Not by stopping our heart, but by stopping our steps. The truth is, reality is rarely as brutal as fear paints it. When you actually face the thing you dread, whether it's speaking up, stepping forward, or starting over, you find that the pain, the failure, the rejection you feared was either smaller than expected or didn't come at all. It was all shadow, no substance. It was all noise, no storm. And, in the end, fear was nothing more than a warning siren in a room without fire. This is why fear can only survive in stillness. Not the kind of stillness that brings peace, but the kind that traps you in inaction. When you stay still, when you overthink, fear grows. It feeds on delay. It grows stronger when you hesitate. That is why the antidote to fear is movement, not reckless action, but deliberate forward motion. You don't need to destroy fear in a single moment. You just need to walk through it. The simple act of doing chips away at the power of fear like water breaking stone. Children don't fear falling until someone tells them it's dangerous. They try, they fall, they get up. But as we grow older, we're taught to fear consequences. Failure, judgment, loss. These aren't natural fears, they are learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. You can retrain the mind to question fear instead of obeying it. Ask yourself, when fear rises, what exactly am I afraid of? Often the answer is vague, looking stupid, messing up, being rejected. But these aren't physical threats. They're emotional assumptions. They are stories, not truths. Once you realize that fear is a storyteller, not a prophet, you begin to regain control. You stop asking, what if it goes wrong? And start asking, what if it doesn't? You stop treating fear as a red light and start treating it like a road sign. Here is something that matters. Here is something worth doing. Fear then becomes a signal, not a stop. And in that moment, you flip the dynamic. You are no longer the one being hunted by fear. You are the one chasing growth through it. Fear loses its grip the second you stop giving it permission to steer your life. You don't need to wait for fear to vanish. You simply need to stop believing everything it says. Like any shadow, it disappears the moment you step into the light of truth, of presence, of courage. The future isn't written yet, and fear doesn't get to write it for you. You do. Step forward, speak up, take the chance. The only thing more terrifying than failing is looking back one day and realizing you never even tried. Fear is a compass. Follow it. Fear, for most people, is a signal to retreat. It triggers avoidance, hesitation, and sometimes even paralysis. But what if we've misunderstood its purpose? What if fear wasn't a barrier, but a beacon? What if it wasn't meant to stop us, but to guide us? The very feeling we've been taught to run from might be the clearest direction we'll ever receive. Because fear rarely shows up when we're comfortable, when we're coasting, or when we're hiding. It shows up right before the threshold, right at the doorway to something that matters. And that makes fear one of the most honest compasses we have. Every time you feel fear, you're brushing up against a boundary you haven't crossed yet. That's what makes it powerful. The voice inside you that says, "Don't do this," or "What if this goes wrong?" is often showing you exactly where growth is hiding. You fear speaking because you know there's power in your voice. You fear leaving because you know there's freedom on the other side. You fear beginning because there's greatness in what you're trying to create. Fear appears most intensely when you're about to step into a version of yourself that you haven't met yet. But here's the key. You must go toward it. Not around it, not away from it, straight through. Because the treasure is always guarded by the dragon. And fear is that dragon. Not because it wants to destroy you, but because it wants to test you. It wants to see if you're ready. This isn't poetic fantasy, it's a pattern written into human nature. All things worth doing carry fear. And the more fear you feel, the more important the step probably is. This doesn't mean fear is always pointing to something good. Sometimes it points to danger. But here's the difference. Fear that protects you feels calm and clear. Fear that holds you back feels loud and uncertain. One is instinct, the other is insecurity. Most of what we deal with isn't survival fear, it's emotional fear. Fear of failing, of being seen, of being wrong. Those aren't warnings, they're invitations. Invitations to show up, invitations to grow, invitations to finally become who you were meant to be. Think of a moment when you grew as a person, when you overcame something that had held you back for years. Was fear present? Of course it was. And what happened after? You felt alive. That's the gift of walking toward fear. It awakens something in you. You stop living on the surface and begin to live deep, aware and wide awake. You start trusting your own power, not because fear disappears, but because it no longer owns you. You stepped toward it and found out it couldn't stop you. This mindset shift, seeing fear as a compass, doesn't make life easier, but it does make it clearer. It gives you a map. It tells you, if this scares you, look closer. If this makes you want to hide, lean in. Fear becomes a tool, not a torment. And every time you follow it, something expands. Your courage, your awareness, your capability. You stretch past what you thought were your limits and realize they were never real. They were just fences fear put up to keep you small. You won't always feel ready. That's normal. But readiness is not a requirement. Willingness is. Willingness to walk with shaky legs. Willingness to speak with a trembling voice. Willingness to begin before confidence catches up. That's the path. And ironically, the more you follow fear, the quieter it becomes. Because fear respects boldness. It shrinks in the presence of action. Not because it's defeated, but because it's fulfilled its purpose. It pointed the way, and you listened. So next time fear shows up, don't turn away. Don't silence it. Don't wait for it to leave. Ask it what it's trying to show you. Ask it what it's guarding. Then move toward it. Not all at once, just one step. Because the path to the life you want, the version of you you're trying to become, is paved with moments when you chose to follow fear instead of fleeing from it. Fear is a compass, and it's pointing home. Accept death, and live free. We spend most of our lives pretending death is far away. We distract ourselves, surround ourselves with noise, and plan years into the future as if time is guaranteed. But it's not. The truth we all carry but rarely confront is this: we are going to die. Every breath we take is one less. Every moment that passes is never coming back. And yet, we live as if we have all the time in the world. We live cautiously, politely, fearfully, waiting for the perfect time to start, to speak, to live. But death doesn't wait. And once you truly accept that, everything changes. To accept death is not to be morbid. It is not to become careless or cold. It is to wake up, to stop sleepwalking through your days, to see that time is not a resource you manage. It's a fire burning behind you. One day that fire will go out. You don't know when, neither do I. And when it does, what will be left behind? Regret, silence, or the fierce echo of someone who lived fully, who loved deeply, who tried, even when it was hard, even when it was terrifying? That's the freedom death offers. Not fear, but clarity. Most of the fear we carry, fear of embarrassment, failure, judgment, dissolves in the face of death. If you knew you had 1 year left, would you still stay silent? Would you still stay small? Would you still hold back your dreams because someone might not approve? When you truly accept that this life is finite, you stop handing your power to things that don't matter. You stop delaying the bold things. You stop living to impress and start living to express. You stop asking what will they think and start asking what will I remember. People think avoiding thoughts of death keeps them safe, but it does the opposite. It keeps them scared. Because when you don't confront death, you live trying to avoid it. You tiptoe, you hesitate, you cling to comfort and routine, hoping to delay the inevitable. But when you face death, really face it, you start to feel alive for the first time. You begin to understand that fear is small next to the vastness of life. That the pain of failing is nothing compared to the pain of never having tried, that death, far from being the end, can be the beginning of courage. There's a calm that comes when you've accepted the final truth. You stop running from it. You start making decisions not out of fear, but out of alignment. You choose the path that excites your soul, not the one that looks safest. You speak the truth that weighs on your chest, not the one that makes everyone comfortable. You love without holding back. You forgive faster. You let go easier. You look at life with eyes that see everything is temporary. That makes it more beautiful, not less. The paradox is this: once you stop fearing death, you begin to live without fear. You become grounded. You become unshakable. Because what can the world threaten you with if you've already made peace with the one thing no one escapes? This is the Stoic way, not to chase danger, but to acknowledge reality, to know that you will die, and let that truth sharpen your choices. Let it guide your actions. Let it strip away everything false, everything shallow, everything that doesn't honor the short time you have here. It's not about living like you're dying. It's about living like you're awake. Like you're aware that this could be your last sunrise, your last conversation, your last chance to be honest, to be bold, to be yourself. When that truth sits quietly in your bones, you begin to honor time. You don't waste it arguing over petty things. You don't waste it chasing approval. You don't waste it waiting for the right moment. You understand that the right moment is now, because now is all we ever have. So accept death, not with fear, but with reverence. Let it be the fire that burns away hesitation. Let it be the teacher that whispers there is no later. And once you understand that, you'll begin to live in a way that needs no explanation, no apology. You'll live free, not because you escaped death, but because you faced it and chose to live anyway. So the question is not, can I destroy fear? The question is, am I willing to? If the answer is yes, then walk into the fire, walk into the conversation, walk into the risk, walk into the dream, and never look back, because fear only has power over the man who turns away. You don't have to be ready. You just have to begin. Start now. Thank you.